Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So today we're going to take a look at two different cases. And the first case we're going to look at is, was there a violation in privacy between Mr.Means, the attorney for Lori Vallow, and the second case we're going to look at is an update in the discovery efforts for 6-year-old James Hutchinson out of Middletown, Ohio. Thank you. Thank you very much for joining me today. Okay, first case we're going to look at today is, was there a violation of the actual client privilege between Mr. Means and Lori Vallow? I need to preface this with the following statement. First off, I have no information on this case at all. I do appreciate each and every person who reached out to me to ask me to, see if I could confirm if this is authentic in any way. But I need to make sure you understand exactly my procedure in these cases. Where an audio recording like this would come up, what I would do and what I have done in the past to authenticate audio recordings, video recordings, and alike. The first thing I would do is try to get a direct source, a direct copy of the actual audio recording itself. Say from either the person who was on one end of the call or the person who actually made the call. The more direct contact, link from the original to it is the best, because I'm going to then take that entire, without editing it at all, I'm going to take it and send it to the company that I have worked with for several years, who work in the field of forensic analysis. I would send it off to them and have them, without any information on me at all, from me at all, on who the party is and what the conversation is about or what anything. I don't want them to be swayed in any direction at all on the actual authentication of the actual item itself. This is what I do. Now, going back to the actual phone call supposedly that came from Mr. Means to a fellow YouTube creator. We need to look at this question and ask ourselves 5 separate questions. The first question we need to ask ourselves is, why would Mr. Means want to reach out to the media? And if he didn't reach out to mainstream media, why would he necessarily be calling or contacting or having any kind of communication with a YouTube creator? Now, I'm not putting down YouTube creators. I'm here and I do an awesome job, if I'd have to say so myself, at documenting and sticking to the actual facts. Does my actual reporting influence the jury pool in that area for the Lori Vallow case? I don't think it has at this point, but I can't say for sure. But why would Mr. Means reach out and skip all those other people in between who would be right there tomorrow? Example, Nate Easton, Eaton with the East Idaho News. He'd be there tomorrow morning or in that afternoon to sit down and talk with him in person. If he wanted to reach out and actually get something in the media to try to influence the pool. But he didn't do that. Supposedly, Mr. Means skipped all that and went to a YouTube creator with a small channel and decided to speak to that person instead. I have not heard the audio tape. I have not heard or seen the actual website in the conversations. I've been sent links to it. I've read a little bit about what supposedly happened in the conversation. But again, I don't know if that audio has been edited. I don't know why somebody would want to post this online. Are they trying to say that they have an inside source, that they are someone's better, that they have this ability to get this inside source? We'd be speculating on a lot of things there. Again, I have not heard the actual audio recording. The next question we need to ask ourselves is, did this actually violate any type of client privilege between Lori Vallow and Mr. Means? Everything that she says to him is supposed to be kept in the utmost secret. Before the trial, during the trial, and after the trial. If she somewhere along the line says, yeah, I personally killed both of my kids, and he is there to defend her of the actual charges, even though, the state might be able to prove that Lori didn't do it directly, that she did it, through Alex Cox, her brother. If she confesses to, her attorney that she did it, he can't tell the court ever what she, actually said to him in privacy. So, would Mr. Means have violated client privilege by making any type of statement where he released information? Well, if he actually did it, and he shared something that wasn't known in the public, then yes, possibly it could be a violation of the privacy agreement between client and an attorney. The third question we need to ask ourselves is, if this audio tape is real, can it be authenticated to the point where the state of Idaho, the Bar Association, would come down on Mr. Means, or the court there where the case is being heard, could they then come down on Mr. Means, some kind of reprimand or sanctions or something along those lines? But it'd have to be authenticated first, and he would have his day in court to prove that it wasn't him or that it was altered in some way. So that would be the third question is, can it actually be authenticated and to show that it's actually real and it is of the context that it was as being portrayed as. The fourth and final one is the website that this has actually been posted to and the social media sites that it's been proven to, is it factual, or is it more on the speculation side of reporting, if you can call it reporting? I took a look at the links that were sent to me in the messages from several of you, but I looked at I got the same links from everybody. I looked at the actual information itself, and it doesn't look to be a news site. It doesn't look to be anything more than a gossip area, a gossip rag, if you would, for online media. And for some things were looked at, and had a little bit of a ring of truth to it, but a lot of it just speculation. As foolish as some of the things that it appears from the outside looking in that Mr. Means has done in this case so far, the countless motions, the bumbling of certain aspects of the case so far at this point, it does appear that he doesn't know what he's doing. But I want everyone to make sure that they understand that Mr. Means is either a brilliant genius, an evil genius, if you will, of an attorney, or he is playing the system because he's playing the game that the system has put in place. I don't think that he is thoughtless and forgetful, or any of these other things that people have thrown out there that they're trying to make stick to Mr. Means. I think that there's a chance that he actually knows a great deal and is very competent to actually defend Lori Vallow on these charges. It's just he's doing it in such a way that makes you scratch your head and say, why would you do that? Because nobody else would do that, because you would never see that in other states. But in the state of Idaho, it's allowed. There are certain procedures that are different from any other state, and that's the way it is across the United States. Procedures in Idaho are vastly different from ones that would take place in Massachusetts, and likewise the other way around. But the fifth and final part we'd have to take up on this matter, the question we should ask ourselves, and then what could he possibly gain by releasing any information? Let's just hypothetically say he was trying to influence the possible jury pool even further. If he did that, and they were able to say, "Look, you released this information that tampered with the jury pool," you're definitely not going to get what you want now to move the trial to another location. We're going to keep the trial right here, and we're going to give you sanctions, and you're going to have to stand up in front of the bar to answer why you did this. So it would be a no-win-win situation for Mr. Means to do anything like that. So I just don't see that as an option. If we take a look, when we step back and we go, why would he do it? I mean, he's not a bumbling idiot. Obviously, he has at least enough intelligence to get not only through college, but then pre-law, study law, and then pass the bar exam. And he didn't finish at the bottom of his bar exam testing. He finished in the top percentile of those who took the bar exam, ladies and gentlemen. He didn't finish at the bottom. He finished at the top of the class. So he knows what he's doing. Maybe he's a little inexperienced in murder cases. You would hope that he knows enough to say, look, at some point he's got to bring in other counsel, even if because he's not getting paid by Lori, he's getting paid by us, the taxpayers now. You would think that he would bring in somebody else, and he has plenty of time because Lori's not leaving to go anywhere anytime soon. So maybe he will be bringing somebody else on to help them as co-counsel on this murder case and that charge. But the first part is going to be the misdemeanor charges of abandonment and everything else. Okay, that's all I can say on the actual Mr. Means possible release of information. We're going to take a look at the recovery efforts for 6-year-old James Hutchinson out of Middletown, Ohio. In this case, as definitely, we've all shed more than a few tears over, because what the tragic events, not only what took James Hutchinson's life, but the horrific abuse and the fact that his mother didn't want his siblings anymore, and her brilliant drug-filled mind was to take them to a wildlife sanctuary and just drop them off in the early hours of the morning when it was slightly over freezing, with no coats and them all wearing their pajamas. She was going to leave them all there because she just didn't want them anymore. She had to drive past both of the aunts' homes to get there. And the Farley family, they're not the richest people in the world, but Marlene and Darleno Farley, the aunts of James Hutchinson, would have taken all three of the children in a heartbeat to make sure that they were safe, loved, cared for, and that nothing, of ill will would ever happen to the children. They would have survived. They would have found a way. But as we know, Brittany Gosney, James's mother, that wasn't even remotely an option in her mind. She decided, along with her boyfriend, fiance, that she just didn't want James or his siblings anymore. And I know that a lot of people have asked, or posted in the comment section since I've been covering this case, why didn't she just take them to a fire department or a police department or a hospital and just walk away? Because, ladies and gentlemen, again, in almost all states, there is no law that would allow her to do such for a child of James Hutchinson's age. We do have laws in place where you can walk away from a newborn, an infant, and all the way up to a toddler's age But anything beyond that, it's a felony. It's a felony to abandon a child of James's age or his siblings. But the bigger felony is what she did and what took place in that home before all this. The hog tying and gagging of 3 children for hours at a time. Because you just don't want to hear them anymore. Because they're in your way. But the update on the James Hutchinson recovery efforts is the North Star International Search and Rescue Department company has completed their search of the riverbanks up and down the Ohio River there for several miles. They have put sonar, side-seeing sonar, which actually it goes down and it sends a beam out looking in every direction from the actual boat, coming back and forth from the area for several miles up and down in each direction on the Ohio River there, looking for these concrete blocks that they said that they weighted James's body down with when they threw him off the bridge. They haven't found anything. No evidence that James actually went into the river where they said that they did. And at this point, a dive rescue officer with the North Star International Search and Rescue, who spoke off and made the comment off the record, they don't believe her. They don't believe that they threw James in the river where she said that they did. And it is in her confession, ladies and gentlemen, that she, her and her fiance threw James off the bridge at a certain exact location next to a plaque on the actual bridge. But there's nothing downriver and nothing upriver from there. So effectively, as of the 26th of July 2021, North Star International Search, along with evidence of Love, which is a non-profit volunteer group, have both suspended all operations for recovery efforts for James Hutchinson's body. Unless further details come about, evidence that points to an actual location for them to search, they will not be going out into the river to find James's body anymore. James may never be found. And that is the sad truth about all this. Not only did she, take the life of a 6-year-old boy who did nothing wrong in this world, and all he wanted to do was play, his little video games, spend time with his friends and his brother and his sister. James didn't deserve this. So, what's next for Brittany and her fiance? Her fiance his trial is set to begin October 4th of 2021, and Brittany's is set to start September 20th. Both of the trials are on track to actually start, and with the delivery, the sequestration of, and bringing in for people for the jury, possible jury members. All the possible filings have already happened. So that is where we're at in the James Hutchinson case. At this point, everything's a go. Like I said, on the trial for both of his mother and her fiance, discovery motions have been filed from both parties, and other preliminary things have taken place in this case. There doesn't seem to be any delays from the actual attorneys themselves, but there may very well be delays when it comes to the actual court proceedings itself, and when we'll actually see a trial date start in this case, because the court system in Ohio there, where the trial will actually be held, is severely backlogged because of the COVID cases that are still pending, that either got put on hold just before the massive COVID outbreak and the courts got shut down, or other cases that were set to start before this. But the case of Brittany Gosney and her fiance will definitely, it's looking, if it doesn't start, the actual trial date doesn't start in 2021, it will start the beginning part of 2022. In the meantime, the community has rallied around the remaining children. They are not being brought out in front of the media for clickbait. I won't put them on because of their ages. I won't release their names any more or further than I have to at this point. They are living with a family relative at this point who has been granted temporary custody of the children. I cannot say and will not say where the children are, but they are not in the same location or city where they were with their mother. But they are safe, and that's all that matters at this point, is that they're safe and that the community is shocked, appalled, just like the rest of this world out here, that anything like this would happen, that anybody would ever get to this point to treat their child like that or their children like this. It's horrific to think that somebody thought, you know what, I just don't want my children anymore. I'm going to drop them off in a wildlife refuge with it just above freezing, where it is known that wolves and other large game that could kill them roam every single day. How do you get to that point, even in a drug-filled state, that you would think that that'd be okay? It's never going to make sense to you. It's never going to make sense to me. It's never going to make sense to anybody out here who has, even the caring, inkling of caring for another individual. But drugs will do that to you, ladies and gentlemen. They'll destroy yourself, and they destroy everything around everybody. The family suffers just as much as the addict. And in this case, one child perished, and we're just lucky that it wasn't 3. Thank you for joining me today, and you have a terrific rest of your week.